For more on the fallout from the Chinese surveillance balloon and the United States' growing tensions with China, joining me now in studio is the managing director of Beacon Global Strategies and former National Security Council Special Assistant to the President, Michael Allen. Michael, welcome.
Thank you.
So Congressman Mike Gallagher, who's the chairman of this new China Select Committee, offered this assessment today.
Letting a Chinese surveillance balloon lazily drift over America is like seeing a robber on your front porch and inviting him in, showing him where you keep your safe, where you keep your guns, where your children sleep at night, and then politely asking him to leave. It makes no sense.
Was the U.S. government slow to respond?
They were. They should have shot it over Alaska. And to make matters worse, they celebrated once they shot it down over the Atlantic Ocean as if they had just killed Osama bin Laden. But the balloon had been able to complete its mission. It sort of reminds me of the two infamous Russian spies, Hansen of the FBI and Aldrich Ames of the CIA. We didn't boast after we captured them after decades of spying. The hen house had already been ransacked by the fox.
What should be U.S. priorities going forward as it relates to China?
Well, we ought to use this incident of China violating our sovereignty to remind the world that China is doing this across all of our allies. They violate Taiwan's airspace regularly. They regularly upset the balance in Asia by harassing other neighbors of theirs. And we ought to point out to everybody that, listen, this is a serious competition with China, and they're acting brazenly.
We have pictures to show our audience exactly how large this balloon was. It looked like basically the size of 3 buses. It's massive there. So no surprise they don't want to bring it down over a populated area, but there were opportunities to bring it down over rural areas, right?
There were. I think they probably could have done it over Montana and elsewhere in the West, but they certainly should have done it sooner, and they might have even had a better opportunity to be able to get to some of the package that is there, the infrared, the cameras, the microphones, the propulsion system, all the things that are of intelligence value there. I sure hope we're able to get them from the ocean, whereas we might have been able to get them better if had it been on land.
Secretary of State Blinken was supposed to go to Beijing. It was canceled when this became such a big ordeal. What should he do going forward in terms of relations with Beijing?
Well, they were trying to put relations with Beijing back into a more stable footing, which in and of itself is just fine. But I think we all need to remind people that we are in a strategic competition with them. Mm-hmm. China is competing with us very aggressively. And so we need to make that clear to the rest of the world and not necessarily signal to everyone that we're back to some sort of business as usual with China. After all, they break international trade rules, and they also are violative of numerous laws here in the United States as it pertains to intellectual property theft and cybersecurity. So we have to just stay with the campaign and tell people who the real China is.
What do you see as potential future flashpoints between the U.S. and China?
Well, Speaker McCarthy has indicated he wants to go on a big tour of Asia. Inevitably, that will include Taiwan, especially since Speaker Pelosi went there. That's another big flashpoint for relations with China. We'll just have to see how they react. But last time they showed the world their true colors, remember, they threatened to shoot down the speaker's plane. So that's just the type of outrageous behavior that we see with them constantly, including with the balloon.
You served in the National Security Council. You also served on the Hill for the House Intelligence Committee. Would you expect classified briefings this week to let lawmakers know what the administration knew and when they knew it?
Absolutely. We need to figure out when our national security infrastructure was able to detect the balloon. Did it come down in its atmosphere? What kind of communications packages were on it? Were they able to intercept serious communications of our military or elsewhere in the government? And we need to get a lot of answers on why it was allowed to transit the entire United States. That just doesn't seem right to have a dragnet sweep across the country and with no real consequences from us.
Michael Allen, thrilled to have your expert analysis today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.